So we have the account in Matthew's gospel of his calling after Jesus calms the stormy sea, after he exorcises the Gadarene demoniacs, and then right before he heals a woman with a hemorrhage and raises a little girl to life. And some of the church fathers would say, why does Matthew place his calling right then and there? He places his calling among the miracles, for a great miracle it was. A tax collector became an apostle. Anyone else find that amazing? Maybe. If you haven't partaken of the series The Chosen, which you can download a free app and watch it, it's interesting how it's just, poetic license. It's just one interpretation of the calling of the apostle, Matthew, but it just shows how much tax collectors were despised. In fact, it led some pagans, here it is, yes, certain historians, the Emperor Julian and another person, Porphyry, I don't know who that is, probably someone important in Roman history, and they thought this account must be false. Either it must be false, or this Jesus guy is just walking around willy-nilly and calling anyone. Because it didn't make sense. Why would a rabbi call a tax collector to be one of his disciples? It is not reasonable. So St. Jerome says, they forgot, these historians, they forgot also the signs and wonders that had preceded, and which no doubt the apostles had seen before they believed. Yea, the brightness of effulgence of the hidden Godhead which beamed from his human countenance might attract them at first view. For if the lodestone can, as it said, attract iron, how much more can the Lord of all creation draw to himself whom he will? So we marvel today that no one is beyond a call to salvation. No one is beyond a call to service. If you didn't tune in yesterday, so for you all and for those watching on live stream, I highly encourage you to not only check in our homily reflection yesterday on the commemoration of 103 Korean martyrs, but we focused on the life of one layman who, for me, it was a very beautiful story of how diligent he was in seeking out the truth, but how much ownership he took over the evangelization of his nation, where for over 20 years during the time of his conversion, they didn't have a single priest in the country. And so I posed the question yesterday, what if we had no priests? What would you do? Now, I didn't really hammer home as clearly as I could have, so let me just really hammer it home. I think there are many people, maybe no one here present, because I said, what would we do if there were no priests? You're only one priest away from that at St. John. Like, Father, but there's other priests around. And that's exactly the point. I think most people would simply say, well, if there's no priest at St. John, no problem. Just get a little extra drive to St. Dominic. And I'll just keep going with the flow. I'll keep being a spectator Christian. I'll keep being a pew warmer. I'll just go and get fed somewhere else. But what if there were no priests at St. Dominic either? Man, I got to drive across the bridge. I got to go up 231. And what if there were no priests there? How far does the church have to go in decline before the laity raise up with the fullness of their giftedness and own the mission? Each one of us, according to our baptism in Ephesians 4, among other verses, reminds us that we are all called to follow the Lord, and all called to call others, and all called to raise up others, and all called to commission others in some way, shape, or form. The Bulletin cannot do this. For over 2 weeks, I have put an article For those of you who have the gifts of business leadership, of accounting, of entrepreneurship, of finances, of construction, of insurance, if you work in these industries and you have these gifts naturally and maybe even spiritually, you can use your gifts here. We are looking for finance council members. If the bulletin will save us, I should have had tons of calls. I got 0. You're going to leave the financial administration of this parish to the person who has no financial training, no MBA, no experience outside of what I have gained here, learning on the job. It's not a good business model, but it's not a good spiritual practice. The church is weak in so many areas because we leave it to someone else. Well, I hope someone else responds to that article. There was also an invitation if anyone had, and again, I understand this is not everyone, but if someone has experience with social media, website development, I said we would like to take our online presence to the next level. You're telling me there's no one in this community who has that gift? I got 0 responses. So you're going to leave the priests to figure this out? Now please understand, I'm saying you, but if the whole parish were here, that's who I'm talking to. But you chose to come today, so you get to hear my unfiltered, raw thoughts. But I encourage you to own the fact that you are here. And now you are in the know. So now you share some of the responsibility of cascading this message to our brothers and sisters who are not here and not tuning in. He gave some as apostles, others as prophets, others as evangelists, others as pastors and teachers, others as finance council members and webmasters, to equip the holy ones for the work of ministry for building up the body of Christ, until we all attain to the unity of faith and knowledge of the Son of God, to mature manhood, to the extent of the full stature of Christ.